is so concerned about us speaking on racism. But for the past 2.5 years, every single day, the PNC has been not only speaking about racism, but has been practicing racism. They couldn't find an editorial about PNC's racism. Every single utterance out of their mouth and the opposition has been about racism and demonstrates this. But one speech condemning racism and saying we are a party that will fight it with all of our strength and try to bring all of our people together, there warrants an editorial, but not a single editorial about the daily occurrences of racism and the, the promotion of racism. And it says it needs more than words. That's what the guest editorial said. And I suspect, as it says, it's a guest editorial. It might not be the core view of the Starbuck News because from time to time they bring in these jaundiced people to write things, and this is a guest editorial, and maybe from a PNC man himself who wrote this. But they, so, so first of all, we people were upset. Some of them from this self-righteous group, and Mr. Norton was upset too. So they were upset for different reasons. Now, the editorial, I saw somewhere people said it was cheap politics. I think it was the Starbuck News again. For me to hail out Mr. Farrier, who came to our Babujan activity, and I saw him in the crowd, and I said, I welcome Mr. Farrier here. He's a relative of Mr. Norton, and I'm glad he sees the light. That's all. It was in passing, wasn't intended for any as a gimmick or any.
All right, let's get one thing clear. Good afternoon, guys. Let's get one thing clear. Jagdeo has no moral authority to speak about. Sorry, no moral authority to speak about racism. None whatsoever. He is addressing certain things as a result of the pressure, the pressure that is on him right now. Um, this press conference is live, and the Stabrook News, as I said earlier in the earlier program, um, the Stabrook News actually blistered Jagdeo and Irfan Ali about the hypocrisy when they talk about racism. They have no moral authority to speak of racism, none whatsoever. None, none whatsoever. You know, and Jagdeo is saying that the opposition leader had nothing else to say about what transpired at Babujan, other than the fact that he mentioned some guy who decided now to eat little crumbs from Jagdeo. Um, and, you know, and that is precisely what I asked if Aubrey Norton to do, to respond to other stuff, not because something is directly um, attacking you, Aubrey, that you should just specifically issue swiftly a release and something from some guy who's hustling now for little crumbs. So I don't know. So so let's hear.
Or Norton is not cut from leadership cloth. You have a whole range of policy making issues to address and to represent the alternative. And that's all you are going to talk about. Oh, this man is not my relative. That's all. From a passing comment, I've said before, and it was on full display. that it demonstrated the morose nature of Mr. Norton, his vindictiveness, the bitter side he has. He's now ready to address serious matters. And so, but it tells you something else. Now, this guy was one of the key activists for APNU in 2020. And it's true that he was questioned for arson in the Linden issues when we had a fire there. The fact is, he was a key activist for the PNC. And Mr. Norton just threw him under the bus. Now he's a criminal. And this is, I've said this before, the PNC has no gratitude or loyalty to people who basically, what in a Guyanese way, throw their belly out for them, work very hard for them. They did it with all their polling agents, said that the PPP bribed them. People who would acted conscientiously for them.
All right, let's not waste time with who was a key activist. I don't know that individual to have been a key activist for the coalition in 2020 election. I don't know that. And this guy is just talking off the top of his head. He is forced to come out with this press conference, and not every propaganda that he's speaking of that we should carry it here. So I want him to respond, because obviously he is responding to the many things that came out recently. He is possibly responding to what Civic, without calling Civic's name, that was on this morning. He's responding to Hamilton Green, who was on this program as well. He's responding to Aubrey Norton, who appeared on the show, as he alluded to, that Aubrey appeared on the show and he expected to hear some things of substance from Aubrey Norton. But it is hurting him. It is hurting him being branded a racist. Now, the Starbuck News article that this guy is referencing, we would definitely have to get to that Starbuck News article. Let me put you guys back to listen to some of the lies in the meantime.
Through our policy making on our programs and government activities to bring people together. And I'm not going to spend today, because I can give you evidence of this. I can give you evidence of every little thing in communities that are nearly 100% Afro-Guyanese. And when we compare the history, the economic history of those communities, and that has to be done if Starbuck News and the others are serious and they want to be independent arbiters and brokers. Be fair to us too. Be fair to us. Look at the economic history of these communities. Take Linden, for example, and then you will see the progress made under the PPP versus APNU. Economic progress. Look at job opportunities in this country. Look at ownership.
Absolutely. It's disturbing to hear this guy talk about opportunities and economic opportunities and all these things. Earlier, he spoke about the fact that that Guyana was the poorest country under the PNC. When Burnham died in 1985, I believe the exchange was just from US to Guyana currency was maybe about 6 or 8 to 1, or maybe 10 to 1. Someone can correct me. And they took a country over, of course, during the Cold War era, during lots of, roadblocks that were set up, economic roadblocks and so forth. And they took a country over in what is quote unquote modern times. But you ask them exactly, in the 23 years that they have been there, what economic value have they offered the country other than making Guyana a drug transshipment country under his. So things are hurting him. Here's what's hurting him. Now let's head back. He's talking about the Chancellor of the Judiciary now.
and through a consultation with the leader of the opposition. Last week, I explained about all of the constitutional reforms that we put in place to ensure um, governance, greater governance, or shared governance. And there are several of those features in the Constitution. Last week, I spoke about that when we spoke about the issue of executive power sharing. So, but one of the features was this one too, to have greater collaboration between the parties in appointment of the top posts in the judiciary. Now, it never really worked because the opposition, when I was president, vetoed the appointment effectively.
You know, the lies and the lies and the lies and the more lies. This is what we're hearing from Barrett Jagdeo. More lies upon lies. Now, for those of you, forget about what he is saying there. If there anything else of importance pops up, I'll put him back on. But his press conference is live right now. This, what you're watching, is a live press conference. Now, but we believe that the propaganda, we're not going to touch on that. He is basically he's talking about appointment of appointment of the chancellor and the chief justice. They are the ones, here it is, they are the ones, they are the ones, here are the lies.
But and confirm them. That will be, what will that be? We have two Afro Guyanese now heading the judiciary, who've been heading the judiciary. And this is seen as racism because he
No, one second. The two African Guyanese that are currently heading the judiciary is not as a result of anything the PPP did. They didn't do that. But what they want to do is to remove one of those African Guyanese there and replace them with somebody of their choice. And we know when we say somebody of their choice. Notice last year, early last year, mid last year, somewhere thereabouts, it was Jagdeo and Irfan Ali who said that they are ready to confirm the chancellor and the acting chancellor of the judiciary and the acting chief justice of the judiciary. They said that. When they said that, the opposition leader, Aubrey Norton, promptly said he will agree with that. He has no objection to that, none. So if the Constitution says that these two appointments need the approval of the opposition leader, and the opposition leader is saying that he has no problem with confirming them, then where and why is it? Why is it that the PPP is reluctant to confirm those two individuals, the acting chancellor and the acting chief justice? Do not believe the lies of Jack Deere. If you call the opposition leader now, if I were to call him now, you would hear him say again that he has no problem agreeing to the confirmation of the acting chancellor and the acting chief justice. Another lie coming from this guy, Jack Dale, about the opposition being reluctant in agreeing to any confirmation. It's a lie. This guy is lying tooth and nail. Let's get back to some of the lies. It's good that you can hear the lies and we will counter those lies.
PPP uses this sort of language, we'll kick them out. It was a condemnation of racism. And then they got a jaundiced magistrate to prevent me from, for a private criminal charge, to prevent me from traveling. Of course, all of that is water under the bridge. And had it not been we're in opposition and I was the leader of opposition, I would have taken legal action against both of them. But they bring that back up in an editorial as though it's a fact. And if you only fact checked what took place, it was a condemnation of racism. So this is something I just wanted to set the record right. But this same Christopher Ram today, will you had a WPA person who said that Indians were brought in this country and they used to live in pipes in India. I don't know what kind of pipe she was talking about, but she said they were living in some slum pipes or something, maybe. And he, the conscience of the country, Christopher Ram, did not see it necessary to file a private criminal action. The conscience of the country, because he was he was sucking up to APNU at that time. He was hoping probably to get a big post in government elections, or just
But isn't it the same Christopher Ram who embraced them after the 2020 elections? Now he's attacking Christopher Ram as wanting to suck up to the coalition. You notice, and this guy is dangerous. This is a dangerous guy for Guyana. He is hurting. He knows that he's been cornered. He's talking about all of the allegations, all, and I agree with you, Marvin Williams, all of the allegations he's talking about, except, except the serious allegations about Sue. Nothing about Sue, but all about others. This guy, yeah, let's head back. Let's hear some more of the lies that we're getting.
and every single day we will fight racism in words and in deeds too, by making sure that people feel included. If we did not believe that there was
Lies, lies, lies. I cannot allow him to go ahead with that lie at all. How can this ignoramus person talk about fighting racism when they are fueling racism? In Starboard News guest editorial, they spoke about the fact, and not in its entirety, but remember he was taken to court by Freddie Kissoon and us. But Freddie took the jump, and Freddie excluded us. Freddie took the jump after it was discussed and it was well documented that Jagdeo and the PPP were practicing racism when they did not, at that point in time, had one, not even one senior black diplomat. Not one senior black diplomat. He was taken to court and all manner of things. That has since been settled. I don't know what the settlement is. Freddie Kissoon is not telling us, but Jagdeo was taken to court by a person of East Indian descent for discriminating against persons of African descent. Here it is, a man like Jagdeo sitting there talking about they are fighting against racism. No, they are fueling racism. Jagdeo and the PPP, they are fueling racism in the country. And here is how they feel that they are fighting racism. Grabbing a couple of persons of African descent who are out to hustle to make a dollar. And that's what it is. Hustle. Look at all those who they are grabbing. The few that they are grabbing are basically out to hustle to make a dollar. And that is what he calls in terms of doing something that is not true. Let's listen to him again.
but you know what? We're stepping on the toes of some organizations that believe they're the only ones can speak about this. They don't have work otherwise. They don't have work otherwise. And as I said before, they they will rule the day, or they will re- they just don't want. They just don't want our country to be united, or else they may not have a role for themselves.
Okay, he is repeating himself. He keeps repeating himself. He keeps believing his lies and lies and lies and lies. That is what he's doing. And the media sits there and hardly asks proper question to this guy. This guy,
Correct itself. Um, had another meeting where the racist rhetoric was even ramped up. And we have not seen any condemnation. They condemn us for condemning racism and saying we will fight racism. And WPA had one of the most racist set of meetings, and we didn't see anything of that nature. The same sort of holier than thou attitude was not displayed there. So we heard Clive Thomas said that we are, and then they had a press conference to reinforce this, that we are bribing people, Afro Guyanese, to come to us. So this concept of bribe,
Sorry about that. The bribe is the pittances that they're offering African Guyanese and forcing some African Guyanese to join them. Like, for example, if you join them, the PPP, they are going to ensure that charges and whatever else you raise and don't worry about it. And so they're coming and painting a picture as though individuals were just basically big activists within the PNC or the coal and all manner of things. I don't know who, you know, these, and we got to listen to these guys at times in order to counter them. I know some of you might be saying, "Oh, you cannot listen to the demons." Sometimes we got to counter. We got to be. What do you think? What do you think Why do you think he's coming out so often and speaking out? Because the pressure is burning them. It's burning them. Thus far, he's at a press conference. He is not talking anything of any substance. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. That is why. All he's talking about is race. Now let's go to what the Starboard News editorial says here. It's a guest editorial, and it's saying more than words. Race was the theme of choice at the event held on Sunday last at Babujan, Quarantine Beach, to commemorate the life and work of the Jagans. Um, Ali and Jagdeo appear to have compared notes. Of course, they compared notes because they knew exactly what they were about. Um, Ali pontificating about racism not being allowed to, quote, succeed in Guyana. The editorial is saying here, even as it is spectre, still clouds most aspects of life here, particularly in the political square. Ali's earnest enough that one could absolutely believe he means what he says, at least in that moment. They're hitting away here. Jagdeo now took a step further, proclaiming that the PPP was the only, quote, the only multiracial party in the country. Evidence Jagdeo said, by the diversity present at Sunday's event. They went on. And so, sorry, we're getting a little blur here. But in other words, what they are saying here is Jagdeo is basically not speaking the truth. He is not speaking the truth. That is why he is so hurt. He is hurt because Hamilton Green has set the record straight. He is hurt because Starboard News guest editorial today set the record straight, and all manner of things. So look here. Who could listen to him?
itself, by polarizing our country. Polarizing. That's all they live for. They want, so anybody who receives any benefits and have come to us, we made it clear. We're working to gain support by our what we have done. We are not ashamed to say, as a political party, we want greater support in Afro-Guyanese communities, but we're prepared to work for it. Work for it by ensuring we address people's concerns, and that's what we're addressing. And not they believe they
Fraud, 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 fraud. They're not addressing concerns. He basically is what is described as a mini modern day slave catcher. That is what he is. And he knows that. He's aware of that, that is what he is. He's not addressing the concerns of Guyanese. He's not addressing the concerns of African Guyanese or any Guyanese in particular. It's all about them. It's all about what they can hustle. And then too, so he is, he is, he is so concerned. He is so concerned about this being branded a racist because that's what that is exactly what he is, a racist. You know, racist.
Not for a single day condemn him. Not a single day condemn him. But they they are not succeeding. They've sought, you recall some institute they had for action against discrimination. I saw they had a meeting in West Coast Bobbies. They have one now in Golden Grove. So ACNU cannot carry the racist rhetoric because having argued, gone abroad and argued this. So they're using these front organizations, the WPA and this one, to carry the racist rhetoric to the rhetoric to the community. And then they would roll in to reap the political rewards. So we have seen this playbook over and over again. And you will not have the self-righteous, the TIGIs or the GHRA um, condemning this. You won't see that condemnation. Self-righteous, but they will condemn a speech we make condemning racism. But if you listen to the rhetoric, it's all racist, from the criminal bar to this our Institute for Action Against Discrimination. They're busy setting up all these institutes. They wrote, you recall last year, some letter was signed by most of them to um, Vice President Kamala Harris. Um, and when you look at it, it's outright laughable the things that they put in there.
All right, he is now talking about this here. He is concerned. This is something that I urge you guys to go out. Those of you who are in Guyana, we will carry it live right here on 107.1 FM. This is the Institute for Action Against Discrimination. Um, Institute for Action Against Discrimination, and he is upset about this, and so it is going to be held 1630 hours on Saturday. We will carry it live right here, and so Jagdeo is fuming about that. Again, he just repeated his description of Rickford Burke as a criminal, quote unquote criminal, and it never ends with this guy Jagdeo. It never ends. Jagdeo believes that he can talk, and he can say, and he can do anything, and no one can respond to him. Well, I have news for him. I have news for him. If that's what he believes, that no one can respond to him, and that's why we do this rebuttal in real time to counter the many lies of Bara Jagdeo. We need to constantly counter his lies. And that is why we oftentimes say to those in the opposition that those members of parliament, they need to be proactive. It's unfortunate that they are not being proactive at all. And then when you tell them that they're not proactive, then they get upset. They get very upset and they get all touchy about things.
So we are not going to be sidetracked by this defunct organization. It's defunct. They're the new conduit and this for pushing the racism that the PNC wants. They probably decided carefully that this is how it would best serve their interests if they have a division of labor and their job is to push the racism. And then Norton issues these lofty statements. The ERC looks very racist, but I want them to act professionally. Well, if the ERC is acting professionally, and I hope that they will do this urgently, then they should examine all of these statements. Now, now I wanted to, in the same vein, because many people along we have had some criticisms from some of the same groups and maybe other well-meaning people who believe that we're intolerant to criticisms.
Of course, you guys are very intolerant.
And we have always fought for a free press, the PPP. It's not a criticism, it's when it comes from the self-righteous group. And the last time I spoke here, that the same level of scrutiny that government is afforded to government, civil society, and should also be put under the same level of scrutiny to determine legitimacy and whether they represent interests or personal views. So if the media wants to be fair, then they should put the same yardstick, use the same yardstick to measure legitimacy for all the groups. So there are a few civil society organizations that have big constituencies that we've been engaging with. These are the ones that have big constituencies. The religious organizations. They have large numbers of people. We have a great friendly relationship with them, with the religious groups in this country.
Lies, lies, and more lies. Just lies, 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 and more lies. While we're speaking of his lies and how they're targeting persons of African descent, let us, and other individuals who don't support the PPP, let's remember that a wanted bulletin has been issued for Takuma Ogunzi. Wanted bulletin was actually issued for Takuma Ogunzi. Um, let me just say to some folks that when you're on a particular program, you just watch that particular program, and if there's another program that's on, you feel free to watch that other program and just don't attempt to encourage people to leave and go and watch another program. I find that to be an insult. Please do not do that. All right, let us respect the program that you're on. Appreciate that. So the lying Jagdeo continues with his lie. And so I hope that those who are in the opposition would respond to this pathological liar, because that is what he is. But it is important that we expose the lies, and this is what we have been doing, exposing the lies of this lying man, this man who is known to be a racist throughout Guyana. He is known as a racist. Even folks who are not African Guyanese see him as a racist and a divider, someone who is dividing the nation, someone who is dividing the nation. This is what he's doing. He doesn't mean good for Guyana. He has never meant good for Guyana. He has destroyed Guyana, and he's back again with that intention to destroy Guyana, hand it out to his friends and his cronies. We see what it is that he does, right? So let's get back into some of this propaganda.
Find a lot of resonance in particularly those newspapers, Kaichor News too, and some other places, that to put them through the same litmus test that others have to go through. So it's not that we hate the GHRA, but everybody knows that this is a one man organization. How does that organize?
Now he's talking about the GRA. Every entity who has a different view, he abuses out. So he comes here like a real tanti moral and want to abuse out. Want to abuse out, and he has a problem with Kaitro News. He has a problem with GHRA, the Guyana Human Rights Association. It's a one man show. He's not saying that the PPP is a one man show run by him, a dictator, a mini dictator that he has now, Irfan Ali as his puppet. And then he has a problem with Transparency International. He has a problem with and lying about the acting chancellor and the acting chief justice have not been confirmed because of the coalition. That's not true. The last time on that situation, it was his attorney general Anil who said that it will happen soon, and then it was Anil who went out again and said not so long ago that they're going to take that to the people. All sorts of frivolous excuses. So then who really is lying, Jagdeo? Certainly not those in the opposition. Certainly not who's the opposition leader again? Sorry. Certainly not Aubrey Compton Norton is lying. You know, we can even go further to probably interview Royce Ford on this matter as it pertains to the confirmation or lack thereof of members, acting chancellor and acting chief justice of the judiciary. We can talk to people about this and they will tell you the truth. They will tell you point blank that this guy is a pathological liar. Almost everything he is lying about. Almost everything he's lying about. And it is important that we just expose his lies because he's getting more and more brazen with his lies. Lies, lies, lies. As we break those lies down for you guys, it exposes him even further. He's fixated on this racism stuff. Why is he fixated on that? Because he knows that he is being cornered. He knows that he has been caught with, I wouldn't say pants down, but he has been caught with whatever down, whatever down. And he has been exposed not locally, regionally, but internationally. He is being exposed. Every single day he's being exposed. Every single day he's being exposed. And we are not going to stop in terms of exposing him. We will intensify, and I mean we, at 107.1 FM, and our audience, our family, we call you guys a family, we will not stop from exposing the lies of Jagdeo and those other folks within the PPP. We are not going to stop at all. Um, I hope that the leader of the opposition would, I just try to get a quick response from him as it pertains, but the phone rang out, as it pertains to what Jagdeo just said in terms of folks not being confirmed.
Stop a corrupt parking meter um, project, and they improve the integrity commission when the fact was that those were the only 3 years in the past 23 years that no government official submitted statements to the integrity commission. How could a report so patently false? And they must have some introspection. I called on them to repudiate publicly that report now that it has been exposed. Publicly repudiate it and withdraw it. Withdraw it. That would be credibility then. But they have not done so.
So basically, what Jagdeo wants to do, he wants media houses to pander to him. He wants media houses to basically agree. And once you agree, he's going to give you all the ads. And those who don't agree with him, him and his administration, they're going to starve of ads, state ads. And Bench Up Radio is a perfect example. Since they have rigged their way into office, not a dollar has ever been spent on Bench Up Radio from state ads, and we haven't begged them for anything. But that is what they do. They starve folks, media houses of ads. Bench Up Radio is a perfect example of that. During the pandemic period, the COVID 19 pandemic, there were a group of broadcasters, owners of TV and radio stations, CN Sharma, Channel 9, and others, who decided that they were going to, and I've advised them that this is not going to get anywhere. They are going to write to Mark Phillips to see whether they can get some sort, and rightfully so, some sort of concession. To this day, no proper response, no concessions, nothing. And these very vagabonds, PPP vagabonds, Jagdeo and Mark Phillips and them, went out to the private sector commission during that same period and gave them hundreds of millions of dollars in concessions, all because of the pandemic. But because of media houses not sucking up to them, they want to punish those media houses. Again, I repeat, I can speak for us here at 107.1 FM. We have been a target of the regime as it pertains to ad. Not a single state ad. Not a single state ad. We'll take a quick break and listen to what he has.
Governmental organizations too, but they get the full support of the government of Guyana because they don't promote lies every day. They work with our children. That's why they get our support. If we look at through the Ministry of Human Services, over 6,000 women through various programs have been trained through the WIN program, particularly the WIN program, on skill training and even some help in ensuring that they get small grants to start businesses. 6,000 women in the last 2.5 years being trained and given a skill. That's where we're putting money in. You know already on the scholarship program, we have about 14,000 people now in the last two.
All right, let's get straight. Let's pause Jack there for a quick minute. He's a pathological liar. We already know that. But specifically, we want to get back to the non-confirmation of the acting chancellor of the judiciary and the acting chief justice. We have on the phone with us the opposition leader of Guyana, Mr. Aubrey Norton. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, specifically, Jagdeo is saying that the non-confirmation of the acting chief justice and the acting chancellor is as a result of some sort of reluctance from you and the opposition.
It is well known that Mara Jagdeo is a pathological. I cannot help it. All very early as position, I took the president and said to the president, I agree for President and the Chief Justice to be appointed, and the President has full permission to appoint the present channel and the present Chief Justice as Chief Justice. He who refused to do it. But Jagdeo can't help it. He lives his life. I heard my brother, my relative. I wouldn't worry with Jagdeo. But Jagdeo needs to become. It's that he continues to ask himself to use shady characters. Buy his way out of it. Reality is, the president was written to me, and I indicate prepared to appoint Cummins and Wilshire as Chief Justice. So the ball has been in their court since last year.
It has been. You're breaking up slightly, Mr. Opposition Leader.
The ball has been in Van Ali Court since last year to appoint Roxanne George Wilshire as Chief Justice and Yonette Cummins as Chancellor. I've given them it in writing that I agreed to the two be appointed. For him to come now and say anything to the contrary, Jagdeo is disingenuous. He cannot help himself.
And now he's talking about racism and that they will do everything in terms of working to ensure that there is no racism in Guyana. Are you surprised that that is coming from a man who has been described as one of the most racist in the PPP and has done so much to divide Guyana?
Common practice of Barra Jagdeo is for him to talk as if he has an interest in unity, but everything he does is recently they put in the Minister of Home Affairs meeting contractor, and 99% of them was of one ethnic group. If you look at all the contractors in the country, over 90% of them are of one ethnic group. So he cannot do anything about promoting unity. He has been very divisive throughout his life. It is under him and Ramatar that they said that there was no black that had the ability to be an ambassador. I don't think anybody takes Jagdeo. Jagdeo is just a dishonest.
I know. And finally, I know I just dragged you out of a meeting, so to speak, and I appreciate your time here. But are you worried that Jagdeo is talking about all these different things except those serious allegations made by Sue of corruption and bribery?
Like I said before, he is trying away from him on corruption. He's trying to shift away from him on EIB card. Clearly, it's not a scam because those ID have the cost. So Jagdeo is busy trying to get from himself from the serious issues that doesn't he address cost of living. It's affecting every Guyanese. Why does that's the question of reducing poverty? Those are questions that are critical, but he's held bent on shift focus away from his wrongdoing. Right? That's the reality.
Quickly, before we go, Mr. Norton, wanted bulletin has been issued for Tukuma Gunsi. They know where he lives. They know where they can get him. But this frequency of wanted bulletins now. Your take on this wanted bulletin, sir?
The government is just abusing their power norms. But you only issue wanted bulletin for people you can't find. The yes, and is there. So it's just a political gimmick. In fact, a wanted bulletin should be issued for Jagdeo. There's a clear allegation of corruption and bribery. They could issue a wanted bulletin for Imran Khan, who had raved about what should happen to black people, but they elected in what they're doing.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Norton, Leader of the Opposition. Appreciate it, sir. Yep. All right, Aubrey Norton there, the Leader of the Opposition, responding to this pathological liar, Barra Jagdeo, on the issue of racism, and specifically also on the issue of the fact that the acting Chancellor of the Judiciary and the acting Chief Justice have not yet been confirmed. And that is as a result of the PPP being, in my opinion here, being uncomfortable with two persons of African descent heading those two top judicial seats. He gave the impression as though he made those appointments, or the PPP did, when in fact that's not the case. We've got to go. This pathological liar must be exposed at every level.
and cost or the cost of having a 24-hour system at scale, a 300 megawatt system, will far exceed the 4 cents per kilowatt hour that we
All right, we have had enough of countering that. I will be back this evening. I promise you guys. It's hurting them. It's hurting Lilawa, not Lilawa, sorry. It's hurting Jagdeo. It's hurting them so much that he was the one that said that they are losing this battle. They're losing this PR battle, and they will continue to lose it at every level. They are losing this. They are losing this PR battle. That is why he is rushing out almost every day. But when he rushes out every day, we will be there with him in real time to counter these lies. We will do that. Even if it's 2 a.m. in the morning, we will be there. If it's 3 a.m., we will be there. No matter what we're doing at that time, we will bounce out and deal with him. Counter his lies, mind you. Because when you say deal with him, they love to twist things around. Of course, they love to twist it around, but they love to twist things around, words around. That is, I will see you guys at 9 o'clock this evening, 9 o'clock sharp this evening, unless something else pops up before. But for now, remember, don't sit down. Don't accept the abuses from these racist little apartheid Guyana. Do not accept that at all. And for his press conference, this so-called press conference, this is what we basically will have to conclude that it was all about. Wanted bulletin issued for everybody except Jagdeo, except some guy named Imran Khan that Aubrey Norton, the leader of the opposition, just mentioned, except for Azruddin Mohammed in the question them about their connection, alleged connection to the murder of Fagundes and all manner of things. And they're not issuing wanted bulletin for these guys either. So we see the one-sidedness in things, the one-sided nature. We see it. Don't forget tomorrow, 9:30, 10 o'clock, right there in front of the Guyana Consulate, 308 West 38th Street. Even if it's 2 persons, even if it's 4 or 5, the protest action must start in North America to highlight what is happening, the injustices happening back home in Guyana. And so no one should stop you from exercising your democratic rights. I'll see you later on this evening. My name is Mark Benchap. Until then, God bless you. And thank you so much for watching.